Hi everyone, Crystal here, Ethan's registered dietitian nutritionist, and today I wanted to talk with you about caffeine, including what is caffeine, the types of caffeine, so natural caffeine versus synthetic caffeine, and we'll also talk about the effect that caffeine can have on the body. And since caffeine is commonly used to help with energy levels or mental alertness, I also wanted to provide you with some tools, tips, techniques to really help you maintain stable energy levels throughout the day naturally, things that you can do in your everyday life to help with your energy. So let's get started. What is caffeine? So essentially caffeine is a compound found naturally in plants. It's found in the cocoa bean, in tea leaves, and such as, for example, green tea, brewed tea. It's found in coffee beans, etc. Guayusa. So caffeine, we have the natural sources of caffeine from plants found in nature, right? And then we also have synthetic caffeine. So synthetic caffeine is essentially man-made, so we create it. Now, I would argue that natural sources of caffeine are going to be more favorable than synthetic sources. And I'm going to talk about why. But before we get there, I just wanted to provide you with a fun fact that I learned recently. I did not know this. Caffeine is the world's most commonly used psychoactive chemical. I mean, when you think about that, how cool is that a compound in plants is the world's most commonly used psychoactive chemical? It kind of goes to show the power of these compounds and chemicals in plants, such as caffeine. So what does caffeine do? Before we dive into, natural sources of caffeine versus synthetic sources, let's just talk about what caffeine does in the body. So essentially what it can do is improve our perceived energy levels, improve alertness, our cognitive capacity, our ability to focus. Every body is different and caffeine can affect everyone in a different way, but those are just some, general things that you might experience if you've ever had caffeine. Some people are more sensitive to it than others, and some people need more than others to feel effects. But essentially what it does is it stimulates our central nervous system and it speeds up the messages that travel from our brain to our body. So kind of makes sense the effects that we might experience, improved alertness, cognitive capacity, if those messages are getting improved, the connection, the chemical messages going from the brain to the body and vice versa. So caffeine from natural sources, I would argue, is more favorable for a couple of reasons, but not necessarily because it behaves differently in the body than synthetic caffeine. So synthetic caffeine and natural caffeine actually have the same effect on the body, but what you're getting from the natural sources of caffeine, for example, if you're drinking green tea or you're having guayusa or coffee or cocoa powder, what happens is that you're also getting these beneficial plant-based chemicals, these other plant-based chemicals and compounds, also known as phytonutrients, these compounds found in plants that have been found to have potential health benefits. So I'm going to give you some examples of this. So when you're having guayusa, for example, guayusa is a plant, it has caffeine, and when you're having guayusa, you're also getting the L-theanine in guayusa, and that has been found to actually help counteract some of the negative side effects of caffeine that people might experience, like that jitteriness. And there's some evidence that actually shows that the L-theanine combined with the caffeine, as in guayusa, can have added benefits for the cognitive benefits that you might experience if you have caffeine. So that's an example there. And also even thinking about green tea. So green tea has, besides having caffeine, it has a ton of antioxidants in it, right? That can potentially help us lower inflammation in our bodies, anti-inflammatory compounds to help free radicals in the body, to help fight damage that might be going on in the body. So when you're getting caffeine from natural sources, you're getting all of these other really beneficial plant-based compounds when you're consuming caffeine from natural sources. Synthetic sources of caffeine are typically found, I see it a lot of times in like energy bars or processed energy drinks. You could even find them in some over-the-counter drugs, medications, but synthetic caffeine essentially is created. It's still, it's not found naturally. We create it. It still has the same effects on the body, but you're not getting those beneficial plant-based compounds. And, depending on the product, if they're adding synthetic caffeine, you really have to think about, are they adding other synthetic chemicals as well? Are you getting any pesticide exposure with the product, herbicide exposure based on whatever they're adding? What other synthetic chemicals and compounds might you be getting? And you're probably not going to be getting those other natural plant-based compounds that potentially work synergistically with the caffeine when you're going with synthetic sources of caffeine. Something that I get concerned about too is with synthetic sources of caffeine is in some products that use synthetic caffeine, they're adding a lot of caffeine to these products, which can be dangerous. Too much caffeine is also not necessarily a good thing by any means and can be unsafe. So I also want to talk about some natural ways to energize your mind and body throughout the day. So first and foremost, adequate sleep, right? Caffeine is not going to correct you not sleeping. So we want to make sure that you have a healthy, you have adequate sleep hygiene, you're going to bed, you're getting enough hours of sleep, your sleep quality is good, and working on anything that you might need to work on to really help optimize your sleep. So sleep is first and foremost. Stress management. So if we're super stressed, talk about draining energy levels, right? And that goes for making sure that we make time to do things that we enjoy. Even if we're, sleeping well, eating well, which I'm going to talk about nutrition in a moment as another way to naturally keep yourself energized throughout the day. No matter if we're doing these other things, if we're, doing things in our daily life that drain our energy and we're not rejuvenating that energy, so participating in activities we enjoy, whether it's hiking, reading, talking with friends, staying connected to your friends, your family, just doing activities that you enjoy, playing guitar, whatever it might be for you that energizes you. You want to engage in those things and make time for those things. You deserve that. And also lastly, food. Talk about something that can help with your energy, macronutrients in food, carbs, fats, and protein. Literally provide your body with energy. So by eating regularly throughout the day, making sure that you're getting your nutrients in, certain vitamins and minerals help the body with energy production, such as B vitamins. So eating food, keep yourself well nourished throughout the day. I know it sounds straightforward, but especially if you have a high demand job or if you have a lot going on in your life, that can actually blunt our appetite and make us even forget to eat sometimes. So always remember to use nutrition as a part of self-care, keeping yourself nourished throughout the day, adequate sleep, stress management, engage in activities you enjoy. And I think that's all, folks. So I hope you learned something from this video on caffeine, including the difference between natural sources versus synthetic sources, what caffeine, does in the body, enhancing that brain, that central nervous system, the brain-body connection. And I hope you learned a little bit about natural ways to keep yourself energized throughout the day.